Hi, Facebook people. Clearly, we are still trying to get comfortable with this idea of Facebook Live, but we're going to try today in more of a podcast format. So, we tried yesterday doing a guided meditation, which, we'll try that again later. But today we decided we wanted to talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts because part of the reason that we established this mindful success coaching page was because we were struggling, we were out of balance, we were working too much, and we had no personal life. And so we still wanted to be productive and but we also wanted to have time with our family and friends and all that stuff. So we've been working a lot on figuring out what actually works to allow us to live the full lives that we want. And we thought we'd share some of that with all of the
Yeah,
Facebook today.
because we're greedy, right? And I want to say, I assume you're greedy too. So let's get our greedy on. I mean, but like in a totally productive and compassionate way.
Right. Good point. I don't know if should we introduce ourselves? I don't know how we need
Yeah,
to
we should
figure out
introduce
this.
ourselves.
Okay, well, I'm Danielle. I don't know what to say. We didn't plan this out. So next time we're going to plan this out a little bit. Yeah, so in my day job, I'm a
From the hip
professor.
guy.
I'm a professor. I'm a mom. I'm a sister, clearly, because this is my sister, and we're
Same
starting
last name.
starting practices to help kind of stay balanced. I'm also a meditation teacher, so there's a lot of meditation in this idea that we're proposing too. There.
And I'm Heather, and then she's my sister, and she's amazing. If you don't know her, you should because she's so fantastic. I'm not a professor. I'm not like cool like that. I'm a human resources person, which yes, I understand that most people think of Toby from The Office, and I'm not saying you're entirely wrong. I'm just saying what every other HR person says is I'm not like that. But one of the things where we kind of got to where we're at right now is, as Danny was saying, we ourselves were struggling with kind of creating balance in our lives. Very, very good at penduluming. I mean, like crazy pendulum swings, which I mean, statistically could be balanced because if you statistically spend as much time on either side of the pendulum, then your mean is you're good, right? Also, super good at justifying everything. But let's be real, that's not helpful. So one of the biggest things, especially during the pandemic, that I noticed was everybody was taken out of a structure that existed for them, right? It's the structure of you have to get up at a certain time because you have to this much time to get ready. You have to take the kids to school and then you have to go to work. And then at work, you have the structure of, you've got this meeting at this time. There's a structure, there's a flow. You have the same people that come into your office or your cubicle or whatever, the same customers or whatever. There's a flow. That's gone, right? We no longer have that flow. We no longer have that, woo, toot toot, it's 5 o'clock, punch out and go home kind of thing. So people feel very Groundhog Day. Every day is the same. I saw a comic this morning on Le Facebook about basically like it was a drawing of somebody saying, no, what day is it? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. And they're like, let's just sit here and do nothing. And then the other person said, if it's a work day, I'm going to be really pissed at you. And that's funny because everything is blurring into one. Like, yeah, my kids, for example, who are two are in high school and they're doing virtual school, and one of them is working and she's doing virtual work. They'll 1 minute before punch in time, 1 minute before class time, they're rolling out of bed, still in their jams, and the hair doing the crazy thing. There's no teeth brushing. There's no ritual in place to help them kind of get ready, and that's what we're missing. We're missing the rituals that we never called rituals. We just called them habits. We just called them like the stuff we did.
Yeah.
So
This is one of those things, I'm a professor and I also help coach faculty to kind of be productive and balanced in that same sort of way. And it's one of those things that faculty experience regularly and teachers in general experience regularly. So every 4 months, our schedule radically shifts. And, we have a new teaching schedule. We have things change really radically every semester, every time something switches like that. And so you'd think we would be really good at saying, like, okay, this is the new normal. Now I have to find a new way to navigate this system. But for many of us, it's still a challenge. So I just want to say, for those of you who think like maybe somebody else is doing this better, probably not. Probably not. Even people who have a lot of experience dealing with major disruptions to a schedule still have a hard time kind of getting back to a new normal. And part of that is because we have expectations that there is some perfect schedule. There's some perfect time where we're going to wake up and we feel refreshed and we feel energized and we're just going to hop in and do our work and we're going to be super productive, get everything done exactly right, and then we're going to clock out and then we'll have quality time with our family. We have this vision in our mind that if only conditions were like XYZ, then I'd be happy and healthy and balanced. And the truth is that does not exist. It's never existed, really. We can get ourselves into a sort of a loop, a habit loop, where we feel like things are predictable. We know exactly what's going to happen. We know what to expect. But if we think about it in reality, it's never even like that. Even if things work mostly how you predict they will, it's still always a little bit off. Like you can't guarantee you're going to get actually a full night's sleep. What if that night you have indigestion problems, you have trouble sleeping? What if the cat knocks over your phone and it unplugs and your alarm doesn't go off? I mean, there are things that always happen that throw us off. And part of the idea of creating better balance is not expecting things to be perfect, to allow things to kind of be unperfect, and then to figure out how you're going to roll through it, how you're going to get through that kind of imperfection. So, do we want to talk about some ways that we've kind of established that, what's been working for us, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and I think also the ways that they haven't. To Danny's point, I had like created this ritual. I call them bookend rituals. So what you do in the morning and what you do in the evening. And I had created these rituals that were like perfect. They were like optimal. They were like this is the, excuse my language, this is the shit, man. We're gonna roll with this. Except I don't know about you, but I know me, and in my household, this year has been fraught with an exorbitant amount of depression and anxiety, which are emotions that kind of like are always a little bit there, here and in there. But this year has been really bad for a variety of reasons. Name it, pick your reason why it's happening there. And the problem is, there are some times when like that little depression kitty comes and cozies up to you, and you're like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get up, and I don't want to take a shower. I don't want to wash my hair. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to return that phone call. I don't want any of those things. That's life. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. And that has absolutely happened this year. So I think we should talk about how we found what works, and then how we battle our way through the not working stuff to get to something that works. And I want to make it really clear, you never arrive. Like, you never get to that point where you're like, this is perfect, and you never have to touch it again. You just put that out of your mind, because
Yeah.
life is flowing. You're flowing with it. You're like, oh, this is what we're doing today. Oh, this is what we're doing today. And
So
and
true.
we have to be compassionate with ourselves, and we have to be compassionate with even the people around us, because we are impacted by the people around us, especially if you're a parent or a partner or an employee, or you run a business, or all sorts of reasons. And it's that lack of compassion that sometimes slaps us in the face harder than anything else. Like, why are you depressed? Everything's good. You have a job, you have this, you have that. And it's like, wow, I'm being really aggressive with myself. By the way, that is totally how I talk to myself sometimes. So you should not do that because it's not
Yes,
nice.
same thing. I think lots of people do. Most of us do. And we berate ourselves. This is what I've been doing a lot during the pandemic. Everything is fine, like objectively fine. Great place to live. I have a job. Things are fine. And yet there's still this just feeling, this weight. That's what I've been feeling this whole time, that there's just a weight on me, which makes everything more difficult. And when I add to that weight, so this is just true, right? Things are difficult right now. Even if you have a good job and you have your family and you have a home, even with all of that, it is still difficult. And on top of all that difficulty, then we give ourselves a hard time. How does that help? So this is one of the biggest ironies, is that self-compassion can actually help us to get more done. If we can just acknowledge, like, yeah, I'm really struggling right now. I'm really struggling right now, just like a lot of people are really struggling right now. So let me just check in and see what it is that I actually really need. And what I have found during the pandemic, that I spent a lot of time just being bummed out and like having low energy, until I realized, like, I have to set up some structures for myself that can actually work now when I don't have the same habit triggers that I used to have. So it used to be fairly simple, right? I had to be to work at a certain time. And then that I would back everything up from that. That means, okay, I have to get up at a certain time. I have to shower at a certain time. I have to leave the house at a certain time. And so my day would just start. Even if I woke up and I was kind of tired and sluggish, it was like, well, I have to be to work by X time. Now, during the pandemic, do I have to be to work at X time? Well, not so much. And so I would find myself spending a lot of time just languishing in bed and being like, oh, I'm just really tired. Maybe I'll hit the snooze, or maybe I'll go back to sleep, or maybe I'll just lay here for a while. So I've had to think about what I need to feel like I'm going somewhere, like I'm doing something, like I'm making a contribution, and what I can realistically do right now. It's not realistic for me to say, I think, Heather, you've mentioned this before, like all the kind of gurus and major CEOs say, oh, you should start every morning, you should wake up and exercise and meditate and journal and like have a long list of things. Those
Get
are
up at 5
great.
a.m.
Those are great things. They really are great things. And if you can do those, if that's accessible to you, you absolutely should do them, because they're really helpful, useful things. But right now, I found that kind of a structure, that kind of a routine, that kind of rigidity is not accessible to me right now. It was not helpful for me to set in my mind, well, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to exercise for an hour and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and this and this and this. So I've had to be more kinder to myself. I've had to be more flexible and set up something that would actually work. So I do tend to meditate in the mornings. I do not tend to exercise, which is one of my weaknesses. So what I have done lately is, and I have to set this up the night before. So it's kind of like, Heather, your bookend rituals. So the night before is kind of like what my intention is going to be in the morning. It helps me to kind of set that intention, and so that I can fall asleep and it's kind of right there on the top of my mind. So the night before I say, okay, my plan in the morning is going to be, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do a brief 5-minute meditation. I'm going to just stretch for 5 minutes. That's kind of the exercising. I'm going to jot a few notes down in my journal, take a shower, so I kind of run through the list of what my intention is for the day. And I try to set what I want my intention mindset to be. So I'll say, like, my intention is to be open to what I'm feeling, or my intention is to be focused, or, whatever it is that I kind of want. Then in the morning, when I wake up, I remember, okay, I said my intention was to be focused today. So I said I was going to meditate and then exercise and then, journal, those kinds of things. So let's just go ahead and do that. Even if I have no driving deadline, I have no, like, I have to get in the car, I have to get to work, all that stuff. That's been so much more helpful. And when I do that morning ritual that starts off the day without getting sucked into like social media or like other things, my day is so much more productive. It's just I feel much better about what I'm getting done. I still have to check in with myself throughout the day, but it helps a lot. The morning rituals help tremendously.
Do you find that you kind of set your pre-intention the night before, and then when you wake up, do you ever find that when you wake up it's a disconnect, like you're in a different place in the morning and you have to adjust, or do you just kind of roll with what you originally were intending the night before?
Yes.
Well,
Both of
that's
those
super
things.
helpful.
Yes, both of those things actually happen. So sometimes, it depends. The more I do this, the easier it becomes. And so it's more likely if I do this more frequently, if I do this like every day after about 3 or 4 days, then I wake up and I'm like, I'm primed for that. I'm more ready for that. So I'm like, okay, yes, that was my intention. I'm going to go with this. But it still happens that sometimes I wake up and I'm like, ugh, not feeling it. I just don't want to do that. And that's when I have to say, like, okay, have a check in and say, first, what is it? What's going on with me? Is it really that there's some physiological stuff coming up that I need to attend to? Or am I just feeling sluggish and it requires a little effort on my part to actually do something about it? So checking in with myself is first. And then check in like, okay, I said my intention was going to be focus. Does that feel right for me today? Maybe I need to think about a different intention. And often, if I actually do like the 5 minutes of meditation and the 5 minutes of stretching, by the time that's done, I'm awake enough to start thinking like, okay, no, actually, I want to change my intention. I really want to be focused on, listening to the quiet inner wisdom voice instead of the critical, chattery voice, something like that. What about you? How are your mornings and evenings going?
So I learned that part of the reason why I like to do the bookends is because it gives me 2 times a day to kind of reset, to kind of um, for in my job, I am at the whim of literally whatever organization I work at, whatever employees, whatever. As a mom of three, I sometimes get at the whim of the kids. I feel like a piece of fluff being blown around sometimes. And for me, having those 2 check-ins in a day allow me to kind of say, no, I have, some level of say in my life and in what I do. And I'm going to make a large generalization that a lot of women, moms especially, but a lot of women fall into this category where we feel as if we are being pushed around into these categories of expectation. You must be in this box, you must be in this box. And so these 2 times give me a reminder of, you know what, I can be in 50 boxes at once, and guess what, you're just gonna have to deal with it. You just never know what box I'm gonna come out of, right? Like, I'm Jack in the Box and bitches take it. So for me, I kind of, I flounder a little, floppy to figure out what works for me, because I still I still struggle with meditation. I recognize it's amazing. When I do it, I'm like, wow, why don't I do that more often? And then when I fall off the wagon, I remember why, because my brain wants to be everywhere. And meditation kind of like says, yes, that's there, but come back. Yes, that's there, come back. And sometimes I want to get a little aggressive with myself and say, you know what? You don't get to tell me what to do meditation. I'm going to do what I do. And that's counterproductive, right? So I discover that I give myself these 2 opportunities to kind of reset, whether it's through like actual meditation. So y'all, I'm gonna tell you something about my sister here. Like, she came to me one day and she's just like, I find that when I meditate for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 to 60 minutes in the evening, everything is working out all right. I don't know why I became like a Southern plantation owner there. It was really weird and totally inappropriate. And yet here I am. Also, my accents are horrible, but you're going to learn that over time. And I was thinking, 30 minutes? Holy shit, that's not going to happen. Like, my brain just immediately was like, nope. So what I did in order for me to get to the point where I can kind of at least do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes is I find little micro meditation moments throughout the day where I just kind of stop and I breathe and I take in a few deep breaths and I'm like, okay, and I can move on. And I'm telling you this story for those people who laugh at meditation or think like they can't do it, because I am 1,000,000% that person. And it gives me the little gradual steps until I can go all the way to wherever I'm going. Because why would I climb stairs when there's an elevator or an escalator? But we're not going to get into that. And so for me, I have discovered that I wake up in the morning and I struggle because like my first place to go, and I admit 100% is my my OCD, my obsession, my addiction. I go for my phone. I go for my phone. I can't stand notifications. They freak me out. Not because I'm going to get anything good. Trust me, I'm just going to get another sales email or a newsletter that I signed up for that I just haven't managed to hit unsubscribe to, or just random whatevers. But for whatever reason, it's a thing that bugs me, right? Here's the problem with that. I grab that, and where is that starting me, right? Like that's starting me off on kind of like an anxious footing already, right? But I have to grab my phone because that's my alarm. So turn off my alarm. And what I have learned is if I put my phone down and don't worry about the notifications right away, and I immediately start kind of thinking about where I am, what do I think about my day? And I always try to look at my calendar for work the day before, so I kind of know what to expect the next day. Because, for example, if I have a deposition or I have litigation that I'm dealing with, or I know that I have to do an investigation, any of those things, I have to prepare myself mentally for those things because it's a very different headspace, right? And there are some lots and lots and lots of days where my sister and I, we like to text each other our intention every morning. Kind of we're accountability buddies like that, which is great. Lots and lots and lots of days where my intention was to get through my to-do list. Let me be clear, when I say my to-do list is insane, generally has 10 items on it. It is absolutely the antithesis of what any production guru tells you, productivity guru tells you it should be. And yet this is where we all are at. And I realized that, I mean, my intentions are to be a taskmaster to myself. And that wasn't serving me. That was actually making me feel more anxious. And then subsequently more depressed because I was unsuccessful. I was failing on the daily, right? So I was setting myself up to fail, right? So now I wake up and I think about what's really important to me. Like I think about my values. I think about what is important to me. And when I get down to it, it's about connecting, like connecting with human beings is probably my number one value. And I'm not talking like, how's the weather? I'm talking like that one time when I was 5 and that uncle came around and it was weird and creepy. And then we all talk about this. And I'm not talking about trauma bonding. I'm just talking about the deep shit. Like that's the kind of connecting that I love to do with all people. And so if I take that into consideration, what enables me to get that I really, that feeds my soul. And some days it's different. So this morning I woke up and I have found some little guided meditations. There's some ones on Audible that I've been using. There's lots of them on YouTube. We have some, and I've been, really short ones. I can have little short ones because I don't want to spend too much time. Because also I have an issue with falling asleep after meditation because that's primarily how I've used it. So doing it in the morning is new for me. But to kind of really kind of shape my intention of who and what I am today, right? Which, by the way, who and what you are is really the same every day, but who you are with today, it's for your focus. So for today, my intention as an example was compassion. And it is hilarious how the fates, the universe, karma, whatever you want to call it, like here's that and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna test you. I'll test you. And I got tested like immediately, like 8 a.m. my phone rings and it's a work phone call. And I spend 40 minutes on the phone with the family member of an employee who passed away, who doesn't have anybody to talk to and who needed to talk. I don't know this person at all, not one iota. I spent 40 minutes practicing compassion, which was hard because I kept thinking, I have so much work to do. I have to do this Facebook Live with my sister. I've got other things to do, like all these things. But I sit and I look at that and I'm like, you know what? What's my number one value? Connecting. Did I not just fulfill my number one value by doing that? Did I not provide something there for somebody and myself? Yeah. So because I set that intention in the morning, like now it kind of flows through me throughout the day. And then not only did I get tested and challenged, but I passed that test with flying colors. My little brain was like, you really don't want to be here, Heather. But the rest of me said, shut up, Heather, and do it. And I was able to kind of flow through it. So what I'm saying is, if I had just woken up and been, bummed and depressed that it's my birthday and I have to work and all this shit, right? Then I'll be honest, what would have happened is I probably wouldn't have showered. I would have just put my hair up. I would have grabbed something cleanish to put on. I'm working from home. So I was like, do I really need to wear a bra? I mean, I'm just keeping it real, right? Keeping it real. But the whole day, I would have felt like I was in purgatory, like I was kind of like Prozac-y, like I'm not super low, but I'm not super high. I'm just kind of like there. And that's kind of what this year, this pandemic has brought, this kind of very middle, just there. It's fine there. But because I had started the day with this intention and I was able to fulfill that intention immediately, I am here now. I'm like in a different place. And when I go through to my evening rituals, which are, I really focus on being grateful. It's really important to find something to be grateful for in a day. And I'm not going to lie, there are some days I've just been grateful that the day is over. But it's something, and today I can look and be like, I'm super grateful for that thing that I was able to provide for somebody that nobody else was able to provide. And just for a variety of things, for all sorts of things to be grateful for, and then I can go through my meditation and I can go through, my other kind of rituals and trying to go to bed at a decent time, because I really am trying to get 8 hours of sleep now. It's very difficult. But I discover that I am able to properly and appropriately give myself an acknowledgement of who I am and where I'm supposed to be in this world 2 times a day, when I give myself these structures, when I set the morning and my intention and I get going, and then the evening, and sometimes it's just as simple as intention and gratitude. Literally nothing else. There can be no shower. There can be no, whatever. There can be no, look, all we're going to do is order in today and it's all food that's bad for us. And you know what? I still did those 2 things. And then the next day, maybe you do more. And the next day, maybe you do less. And the next day, you know what I'm saying? And it's about creating those pillars that help keep you standing for 24 hours because you've hit it at those 12-hour marks. That's what I've done.
I think that's great. And so maybe we can just do a real quick recap of like our top suggestions for how to build productivity structures that also allow you to be balanced. So you've heard that we think morning and evening rituals are really essential. So what that means is figure out what works for you to start your day. So maybe this means, taking a little bit of an assessment of what your morning actually is like right now and what the consequences of that morning ritual are for you. And then to think about what would work for you. So what would actually work for you to achieve the kind of productivity and balance that you want to have. So there are things that we've found that works for us, but whatever it is, figuring out first thing in the morning what you can do to set your intention, to be true to yourself, to remind yourself about what is important. So figuring out what works for you first thing in the morning. I would also say that every once in a while throughout the day to check in with yourself to say, that's right, I remembered my intention was to have this mindset, to do this thing or whatever that is. That will help. It'll help you to make decisions. It will help you to kind of stay on track. And if you do it often enough, it can help you get more into balance. And then the last part of that ritual is the evening process. So, what can you do right before bed that can help you kind of close the day and then prepare for tomorrow? So, this might be another audit, right? So, are you staying up late, consuming something that's not actually helpful for you? That's going to make it so that it's difficult to sleep. So, consuming some kind of media or food or something that is not actually going to be helpful for you. If so, what could you change about that? What could you do differently so that you can close the day in a way that's meaningful for you? So that's the big ones are open the day in a way that's meaningful for you, filled with intentions and values, and close the day in the same way. That will then set you up for the next day. There are one more tip throughout the day because, and this is going to deal with things like Zoom fatigue, that there are things that, and this happens even without Zoom, but that we often get exhausted. We get tired throughout the day, particularly with Zoom. It can be helpful if you do what Heather was talking about, those like 3 deep breaths. So before your next meeting, whether it's Zoom or anything else, before you turn it on, just pause and let everything go for just 3 breaths. Just focus all of your time on breathing in, expand your lungs, breathe all the way into your belly. Try to make yourself wide and open as possible. Pause at when it's full, when you're full of your breath, and then gently, gently deflate, exhale, all of that. You do that 3 times, it'll take less than a minute. You will feel more grounded as opposed to when you start a meeting and it's like rushing from one thing to the next and the next, and then you're just starting and it sends you off kilter. So I think those would be our 3 big tips. Morning ritual, evening ritual, check in with yourself throughout the day.
And real quick on the breaths, and I didn't know this until I took my son to a doctor's appointment because he broke his nose playing football and had to get it fixed. Apparently, you get in significantly more oxygen when you breathe through your nose versus through your mouth. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. My mouth is gigantic and my nose is teeny tiny. But you know what? It was a doctor. And then I looked it up because I have trust issues and he was right. So much there. So breathing in through your nose is helpful. It really gets more oxygen. And oxygen feeds your muscles. It feeds your organs. It feeds everything. It's really important. And then one of the other things that it's not mandatory, it's not helpful, but as you kind of do these micro meditations, even throughout the day, because you could have gotten an email that stressed you out. You know what? Before you respond, I highly recommend taking the 3 breaths and then kind of putting it together. But also, and this was kind of given to me is kind of take a breath and then where are your shoulders? Maybe just drop them. Where's your jaw? Maybe just loosen it. Like these just teensy tiny things, places where we hold our stress and we're not even aware of it. Like it makes a huge difference when you're on that journey. And after you just done the few breaths, because look, take the few breaths and keep your jaw tight. That's cool. At least you did something, right? Do not think that it's got to be perfect because some days that's going to be the most you're going to do. And guess what? Some days you're only going to be able to do 1 breath. And that's okay too. Like you have to be compassionate with yourself as you're making these changes. Just know progress, not perfection, is so important for this. And to Danny's point about really kind of understanding what serves you and what doesn't serve you. I love the TikTok. It is so entertaining and fun. It is a black hole that you fall down. And I'm like, I love falling down this hole. It is so funny. But, if I'm watching TikTok immediately before bed, there's a couple things that are going on. I mean, we've probably all read about blue light. We've probably all read about we should put our electronic devices at home, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about the weird ass dreams watching TikTok before you go to bed cause. And I'm not exaggerating about look, you haven't had weird dreams until you've like randomly some person on TikTok shows up in your dream and you're like, I've been TikToking too much. I need to TikTok detox just for a little bit, like maybe my hours of TikTok or whatever it is. And it's about whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, little funny cat videos. I watched an insane number of animals on TikToks because I find them very entertaining and calming and relaxing. I find human beings to be very stressful. I don't know if you have the same experience. But in kind of really understanding that about yourself in both the morning and the evening and being kind with yourself. I am never saying no more TikTok. Look, unless you have an issue with something that is an actual addiction and you know that there is no alternative but to be black and white, right? Because in some things, absolutely, black and white's the only option. But in most things, it's about balance. It's about what really is going to work and what's serving you and what isn't serving you. Look, you're watching your TikTok, you're watching your Instagram, you're on Reddit, you're on, Tumblr. Do people still tumble anymore? I don't know. I've stopped tumbling for a long time. But anyway, and if you're getting from it something that's really feeding you, great. But if you're getting from it, oh my God, I need to buy a ABC. Oh my God, my nose isn't perfect. Oh my God, I need to lose 10 pounds. And it's creating anxiety in you, why are you doing it? Just, is it helping you? I'm telling you, I have unfollowed a lot of people, especially in 2020. I have unfollowed a lot of people on social media. And my social media now, I'm like, oh, Coconut Rice Bear. I love that dog. Oh, Colon Marmalade. I love those cats. Because animals are more enjoyable than people, but also because I wasn't feeling good about myself when I consumed that. Same thing for, Jack in the Box tacos, which universally are the most repulsive and delicious things at the same time. Everybody can agree. There's not a person on this planet that can't say, yeah, give me some of them because they're delicious, but they're horrible. And you eat them and you immediately regret eating them. Why did I eat that? It's not going to stop you. Just like Taco Bell. It's not going to stop you from going to Taco Bell and getting that disgusting, delicious food. But just understand that when you're doing that, I am getting my Jack in the Box tacos. I'm going to enjoy it for the moment. Enjoy it to its fullest. And just know that this is not the answer to everything, except that you are going to make this decision knowing what the outcome is, and you're still going to do it. And then you can go and reset and make a different decision tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow is a salad, or you're going to follow a TED talk or something. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Consuming. Yeah. Which, by the way, consuming is a different word from consummation, which I was about to say.
Right. So. That is a different word. Okay, so let's recap and close because we've been probably going on too long. So we'll just say that, first of all, it is about listening to yourself and figuring out what's genuinely going to work for you, what's serving you, and what isn't. And so that means maybe auditing what you're doing and what the actual result of that is instead of what you think it is. So paying attention to what works for you and what doesn't. Setting up a morning routine that helps kind of frame your day and get started. Checking in with yourself gently throughout the day by noticing your breath, checking on your intentions, and then closing your day with some sort of ritual that allows you to feel grateful or to acknowledge what you've done or to set yourself up for tomorrow. So open, check in, close. Those are our biggest structure recommendations so that you can have more productivity and be more balanced. It takes practice, but hopefully it will help.
Well, isn't it cool having a professor with us?
Good. All right. So we'll check in at some later date. We're going to plan to keep doing these live. We'll try to do it again next week. If you have a suggestion, something that you want to hear about or problem that you're having, leave us a message. Let us know. Otherwise, right. See you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Right. Bye.